Welcome to our Life of Pi inspirational Vcast. What's a podcast that's a video? A vidcast. Welcome to a vidcast here on Life of Pi. This will undoubtedly, I think, help you frame your thoughts about this amazing novel. I have my copy in this room, and I'm prepared to give you some insights that sort of surprised me. I'll tell you, allow yourself to feel however you want about this novel. You may read it and love it. You may read it and hate it. It doesn't matter. Just allow yourself to feel. I'm going to give you that. It might surprise you that after I finished reading this, my emotions were not the same as they are now. Sometimes you got to let something marinate before it crystallizes into a more permanent sort of feeling. But here's some things that, now, I'm going to spoil the heck out of things a little bit, so if you're not ready to talk about a lot of stuff, then you can just push pause and come back to this. But here we go. Today, I'd like to talk to you about numbers, okay, because this is a very mathematical book. I know that because Pissing, that's his name, right? Let's just say it. His name is Pissing. Okay, Pissing Molitor Patel. He obviously gets bullied because people call him Pissing. And we do know that the word pissing is the French word for pull. But, of course, in India, they are aware of the English meaning of pissing, that it indeed trumps, it overshadows the word for pull in the French to the point where they bully him. So, to survive, Pi must create a better story, a story that will help him survive. And so he reintroduces his name as simply Pi. Of course, we know that Pi is an incredibly important number, not just in math, but our understanding of the universe. So it's an irrational number that helps us understand how the world operates. So that's the first number we could talk about is 3.14, and that's all I know. But moving on from there, though, you might have heard, and as you read, there's a shipwreck, and this is a part survival story. I can't wait to ask you, like, which is your favorite part? Part 1 or part 2 or part 3? But part 2 begins with a ship sinking, and I hope you can see this. The ship sinks, the Simsum. Say that with me. Simsum. The Simsum sinks. The Simsum sinks. The Simsum sinks on June the 21st, 1977. That is the summer solstice. And some critics believe that is important because the summer solstice is really a pagan celebration. It's a very famous pagan celebration. But you might have remembered, when does Pi wash ashore with Richard Parker on the shore of Mexico? Well, it's Valentine's Day, 1978. And so if you do the math and count the calendar days, that is, in fact, 227 days. And we'll talk about the significance of 227. But first, let's talk about the significance of moving from a pagan sort of holiday to St. Valentine's Day, February 14th, 1978. Well, the significance is obvious. Let's go back to the very beginning. Oh, here's something I really wish somebody had told me before I had read it. Those italicized chapters that, if you're like me, they confused me the first time I read it. They are the fictitious author, Jan Martel. Those are like his notes that he used to create the novel. It's to build creativity. And so it makes sense. Now, you might even have to go back and read part 1. I think that's the way to do it. Read part 1, part 2, part 3, and then go back and read part 1, because then all of a sudden all this like random stuff starts making sense. But that's one of the things that might crystallize it for you. But in one of those italicized chapters, the fictitious author Jan Martel says, he tells the origin story of this novel. Like, how did Jan Martel get the idea for writing this novel? Well, it would happen in a coffee shop. He was in India, and he was drinking coffee, and he met an interesting gentleman, Francis Abdurrabasami. That's my happy word. You know, in Elf, the movie, Buddy, he hears the word Francisco, and he just keeps on saying, well, when I get anxious, I will self-whisper the word Abdurrabasami, Abdurrabasami, Abdurrabasami. See, I feel better just saying it 3 times. Here's my... Francis Abdurrabasami is important in the novel. He is Pai's Mamaji. In India, that would be an uncle. But of course, he's not related by blood. He is a friend of the family who is a trusted uncle of sorts to Pai. Pai gets his name from Mamaji. Mamaji loves swimming. And when he visits places, he checks out their pool. Pai is named after the pissing Molitor, a pool in Paris, whose water was so pure that you could make your morning coffee out of it. That's a wonderful segue to the coffee shop where Jan Martel meets Francis Abdurrabasami, Pai's Mamaji, and they get to talking, and Francis Abdurrabasami realizes that this young author is struggling to find something to write about. We've always had, all of us have experienced writer's block. But Francis Abdurrabasami says, I have a story that will make you believe in God. And that is where this relates to our dates. This is a novel that is really, on some level, an argument for faith. It is a movement from pagan to the holy, so to speak. And really, you could also sort of analyze that movement from the summer solstice to Valentine's Day as just how it sort of reflects how religious and spiritual Pai is. He's not a Hindu. He's not just Muslim. He's not just a Christian. He's all those at once. And we'll talk much more about that in class. But anyway, a journey that will make you believe in God. And we've got, 227, what's the big deal? Well, when I was in school a long time ago, oftentimes in math class, we would represent the number pi as 22 over 7, because if you work that fraction out, what do you get? 3.14. Isn't that awesome? 227 days lost at sea. 227 days is how many days between June 21st, when he sunk, and Valentine's Day, when he washed upon the shore of Mexico. Okay, great. So what is 319? Well, your edition, you might want to check your edition of Life of Pi. If it's like one of the first printings, the first printing came out, and one day I was looking through it, and this is one of those. Okay, so these two things came to me through research. I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, some professors out there who discovered and analyzed all this stuff. But this one I discovered, I'm kind of proud of it. Okay, so one day I'm looking at my novel, Pi, the last page. I think it was just like, how many pages is this book? Because I was adding them up. I was adding them up with Jane Eyre, and I realized you guys are reading 1,000 pages of summer. Okay, so I'll tell you that 319, I was like, oh, dang. I was like, it's too bad it wasn't 314, because that is kind of like Pi. Well, then I noticed these random, throughout the novel, there's these random completely blank pages. In fact, there's 5 of them. And if you subtract 5 from 319, what do you get? 314. It's just this cool, like, little mystery I felt like I solved. I'm not sure why or what or how or when, but this novel, you may have thought it was kind of more simple than what it actually is, and hopefully we can enjoy its complexity. Those are the types of things that really increase my interest in the novel, but I cannot wait to ask you the question of the novel, and it's this. Which story actually happened? Because when you read part 3, these Japanese investigators, they are from the company that owned the Simpson. They need to make a report. They need to understand what happened. And Pi's the only survivor, so it makes sense that they'll interview him. And so Pi tells he tells them the story. Obviously, that was part 2, the story where there are animals in the lifeboat. But the investigators are like, no, okay, that was a good story, but what really happened, Pi? And then Pi tells them another story where the animals, all of the animals except for Richard Parker, are replaced by a human equivalent. And so at the end, you're like, which story actually happened? I cannot wait to ask you. So start thinking of, as you read Life of Pi, as you finish it, start thinking about, okay, now which story actually happened and why, and what does that say about life? That is a great conversation. Can't wait to hear from you. I have my opinion. I have a strong opinion, but I want to encourage you to think for yourself and to back it up. So I will see you soon. Thank you for watching this video. I want to connect with my students to inspire you to read during the summer. Lots of things compete for your time, but I really think that reading can change your life and it can enrich your life. If you want to be a leader, you're going to be a reader. So I will see you next Friday with another video that will help you prepare for those quizzes, really, that will happen on August 9th. Hey, August 9th is when those quizzes will happen during our Viking time. I just discovered that date. You're going to want to do well on those. I mean, you're going to want to make a great first impression. You're going to want to get that celebration. And even if you have this class in the spring, you're going to have to take that quiz on August 9th. It's during our Viking time. So I think as we get closer to these videos will help you prepare and completely rock those. But just keep on reading.